going on? Oh, la da da da. Yeah. What's going on? Oh.
More knowledge, more power. I said donations by the hour. More books turn children to scholars. Disease turn from flowers endowed with unlimited power. It's starting to strike. Seek solutions for life. The spirit knows it to be driving for man, but this life within keeps me right and sad. Brother, oh, what's going on inside your heart? We can't kill those growing the stones throw from home to uplift our own. It's the back on thrones. Giving real keys to truly succeed. Money doors to fulfill peace. This is how to admit this world. Be proud of what they want. That's in each other. Be others. Right with God, that's right within. Not no hunger, contradiction. No more shucking and jiving. No more trying to survive. No more petty excuses. Still brothers juices. Passion out over tea and herbs and mass buzz.
What's going on? People dying every day, things will never be the same, but we gotta make a way. What's going on? No, we gotta stop the hate, move the world a better space. People dying every day, what's going on? I'm just saying how I feel, no one else gonna keep it real like the way I want. What's going on? People dying every day, things will never be the same, but we gotta make a way. What's going on? Oh, what's going on? Oh.
Peace and love, everybody. Prince L with More Simple Light Trust Core coming to you through YouTube. Thanks for your views, for your time, for your energy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You know, it's a great way to just like give a little courtesy and a little donation. I'm just trying to help monetize this information, you know, making it more accessible and affordable, economically speaking, for the people. And today, we are going to go over the Fair Credit Reporting Act, all right? Now, a little bonus information. Well, before we begin, this is not legal advice. This is not even legal information. This is just research assistance. Part of the services that Model Trust Corps provides, More Simple Light Trust Corps, Model Trust Corps provides is petition preparation and document preparation and filing, all right? We help others help themselves, specializing in pro se, self-representing individuals, right? So to jump into this, regarding the Fair Credit Reporting Act, before you even think about reviewing any information regarding the Fair Credit Reporting Act, understand that the majority of the entities that you're dealing with have been authorized by the United States government to engage in commerce. Now, that does not make them an entity or an agency of the federal government. However, if they reside in another state other than the state in which you reside in, there is a matter of diversity of citizenship, considering that the creditor, the quote-unquote creditor, is a resident of another state, incorporated in another state, and doing business under the laws of another state. So it's important to, you know, initiate any correspondence or communication with that agency first before moving forward with any federal regulating entity, all right, such as the Federal Trade Commission, all right? So the Freedom of Information Act generally provides that any person has the right to request information, access to federal agency records or information except to the extent that the records are protected from disclosure by any of 9 exemptions contained in the law or by one of the 3 special law enforcement record exclusions. Exemptions include, but are not limited to, At least, it's not disclosed there. But we can, it's never ever limited to just the things that is provided to us as information. So the 9 exemption categories that authorize government agencies to withhold information are classified information for national defense or foreign policy, internal personal rules and practices, information that is exempt under other laws, trade secrets and confidential business information, interagency or intra-agency memoranda or letters that are protected by legal privileges, personnel and medical files, law enforcement records or information, information concerning bank supervision, geological and geophysical information. So if an entity or an agency does not fall into any of those exemptions, and to which one of the most common forms of exemptions that may exist, or the exemption that might be of most importance to you, the viewer, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, is exemption number 4, trade secrets and confidential business information. Some of the agencies that are in the business of extending consumers credit are not going to give up their trade secrets or confidential business information on how it is that they go about basically creating debt. All right. And for those who are not already well informed, the whole system of United States of America's commerce is based on debt, namely the energy or the debt of its residents or its consumers or its citizens, whichever way it is that you want to look into. We got many names, but they only have one purpose for it, and that's just to keep us engaged in the practice of debt slavery. Freedom of Information Act also wanted to highlight some information that portions of the Freedom of Information Act specify that these things are, that this particular act is for federal agencies, all right? But if they're not an agency that is under any of those 9 exemptions, such agency regulation shall provide that fees shall be limited to reasonable standard charges for document search, duplication, and review when records are requested for commercial use. So consumer activity are commercial actions, all right? Break out your Black Laws Dictionary, take a look at the definitions between, or the similarities between the definitions between commercial and consumer, all right? And you'll find some interesting information. No time for it here, but just, trying to keep this video quick and short. Fees shall be limited to reasonable standard charges for document duplication when records are not sought for commercial use. And for any request not described in section 1 or 2, fees shall be limited to reasonable standard charges for document search and duplication. So most of the time, when initiating a dispute with a creditor, the cost for the information that you're requesting should be less than $10. And the only reason why is because you're requesting their personal, their trade service information, all right? Like how they engage in business, how they go about the business of extending you debt as credit, all right? So let's talk about the Fair Credit Reporting Act, because that's what this is all about. This is an act, a federal law that regulates credit reporting agencies and compels them to ensure the information gathered and distributed is a fair and accurate summary of a consumer's credit history. The FCRA is chiefly concerned with the way credit reporting agencies use the information they receive regarding your credit history. The law is intended to protect consumers from misinformation being used against them. It offers specific guidelines on the method credit reporting agencies use to collect and verify information and outlines reasons that information can be released. Now, the credit reporting agencies are, let's just be honest, they're crooks, all right, because they're selling consumers' personal information to another agency for the purposes of extending that consumer credit. Now, the activity or the commercial activity of extending credit is an action that is regulated by the Truth in Lending Act. So for those who have not already seen that video, go check out my last video that I put out last week on the Truth in Lending Act to get more information regarding that. And it is under the Truth in Lending Act that consumers are able to dispute directly with the creditors or second and or third party debt collecting agencies. A second party is just an agency that is no longer the original creditor. It has transferred it to another party. By transfer makes them a second party and not the original creditor. Therefore, there is a change in the original contract, and a new contract should be issued by the new crediting agency. If that is not provided to the consumer, there is a violation to the consumer's rights. So let's keep moving. And yes, you will be able to find links provided to you in the description bar below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Fair Credit Reporting Act, some interesting information here. Just want to get to one particular portion, and that is verification. All right, that the consumer continues to meet the specific criteria used to select the consumer for the offer by using information in consumer report on the consumer, information in the consumer's application for the credit or insurance, or other information bearing on the creditworthiness or insurability of the consumer, or of the information in the consumer's application for the credit or insurance to determine that the consumer meets the specific criteria bearing on creditworthiness or insurability. Verification. It says, again, by using information in a consumer report on the consumer. So the information on the consumer's report is information that has been provided by the consumer onto the report. This means that the individual who is engaging in commercial consumption is voluntarily providing information to different crediting agencies for the determination of creditworthiness or insurance. All right. The consumer furnishing any collateral that is a requirement for the extension of the credit or insurance that was established before selection of the consumer for the offer of credit or insurance, and disclose to the consumer in the offer of credit or insurance. Now, that is important because verification, through comprehension of what verification means, it is basically, in short, saying that the consumer makes the request for credit and would make any inquiries that might incur on a consumer's credit report was made or initiated by the consumer themselves for the purposes of getting some type of credit or insurance. Now, if that information, or if the consumer themselves did not do that, then that is some form of inquiry, to which is that a hard inquiry or a soft inquiry. A hard inquiry is an inquiry that you yourself, the consumer, make for the purposes of seeking credit. A soft inquiry is usually an inquiry made without your permission or your expressed written consent to engage in the inquisition of a consumer's creditworthiness. Therefore, if there is no consumer-made request for the extension of credit to the consumer, that is a violation to the consumer's credit reporting rights, because if it pops up on the consumer's report and it is still, once again, a soft inquiry, it is not made without the authorization of the consumer, then we have a failure to communicate here. So, common violations of the Fair Credit Reporting Act may include, but will not be limited to, inaccurate reporting, is basically all that it comes down to. Common violations of the Fair Credit Reporting Act include old information furnished as new information, failure to update reports after completion of bankruptcy is just one example. Agencies might also report old debts as new and report a financial account as active when it was closed by the consumers. creditors give reporting agencies inaccurate financial information about you. Reporting agencies mixing up one person's information with another's because of similar or same last name or social security number. That's right, even that can happen. Agencies fail to follow guidelines for handling disputes. Pulling your report for an impermissible purpose, for instance, viewing a credit report to determine if you have assets before filing certain kinds of lawsuits, like collection accounts. Failing to send you notifications about your credit report or score in violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Reporting agencies are providing information to unauthorized persons or businesses. Not all Fair Credit reporting actions are the result of errors or poorly maintained files. For example, in 2012, the Los Angeles Times reported about a data broker that agreed to pay $800,000 in a settlement with the Federal Trade Commission for allegations he illegally sold personal information to human resources, background, and recruiting companies. So, your rights under the Fair Credit Reporting Act: if you are turned down for credit or have some other reason to suspect that a credit report might have erroneously damaged you, get the name of the national credit agency that provided the report. A landlord who turned you down for bad credit or a bank that denied you a credit card will tell you which agency issued the report. Next, contact the agency and request a copy of the report. Keep in mind that if the report contains incorrect information, other agencies could be using the same information in their reports. So don't bitch about it if you keep seeing the same information pop up all over the place. All right? Now, individuals who may be entitled to seek relief for damages under the Fair Credit Reporting Act: an individual or class action for damages amount of award, factor determining amount of award, except as otherwise provided in the section. Any creditor who fails to comply with any requirement imposed under this part, including any requirement under section 1635 of this title, subsection F or G of section 1641 of this title, or part D or E of this subchapter, with respect to any person, is liable to such person in an amount equal to the sum of any actual damage sustained by a person as a result of the failure. In the case of an individual action, twice the amount of any finance charge in connection with the transaction. So that means whatever the alleged, debt or collection account that the creditor or collector is attempting to, collect on, it's that amount times two. And then it may be anywhere from $200 to $5,000 or such higher amount as may be appropriate in the case of an established pattern or practice of such failures. And by all means, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the credit extending agencies are or have an established pattern of practice of such failures, such as properly reporting your credit information. So, that all being said, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, hit the bell button, subscribe, like, share, comment. Help a brother out. You don't have to make a donation, but maybe your donation comes in the form of sharing this information who's trying to repair their credit and get their financial life on track. We all need it. More than anything nowadays, we see that financial security is definitely a wave in this giant ocean of freedom. Okay, so let's utilize as many opportunities and remedies available to us. If you need to get in contact with More Simple Light Trust Corps, feel free to hit the email link provided in the description bar below. Moors, Moors, Temple, TEMPLOLIHT, Moors Temple Olight at gmail.com. There is also a PayPal request link in there. Like if you feel like any of the information has been valuable, has helped you in any shape, form, or fashion, please, anything that you care to donate is much appreciated, and it is not mandatory. By all means, if you hit that thumbs up and you help me monetize this channel, that's enough of a donation, if you ask me. So thank you very much. Help me help somebody else. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. How we always do about this time. Stay free.